Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and today I thought we'd go over the latest Peril in Paradise cards, take a look at something we talk about a lot on the channel, power creep, or just reusing mechanics that we've seen in prior sets. It's not like I'm saying these cards shouldn't exist, that power creep should exist, or these examples aren't always the best. Sometimes it's a neutral versus class. It's just fun to take a look at the similarities between cards. So we're gonna do that today. And if you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like as we're on the road to 85,000 subscribers. So yeah, again, we're just having some fun comparisons. Feel free to drop any in the comments down below that I missed, or maybe you disagree with. You know, it's not really that similar. But first example I thought is more of like a side grade style of card. We have Corpsicle, the new Frost card for Death Knight that you need a Frost rune to play that deals 3 damage. And if you spend 3 corpses, you will return this to your hand at the end of your turn. Very similar to Frozen Touch, which was a mage spell that infused with 3, and you would basically get another copy of it added to your hand. So similar that you need 3 different things to die, although you can gain corpses in other ways. It's not necessarily that, but it's also, you know, potentially infinite damage. As long as you have minions or corpses, you could keep generating them. The main difference is this is kind of more of a side grade where Corpsicle you can only play once a turn. Frozen Touch, you can play as many times as you want that turn as long as you keep infusing it. So it had a bit of that advantage. However, spending corpses also buffs like your Climactic Necrotic Explosion or discounts some giants. So there's all that going for it. But overall, both are really good cards. Both have found a place in the metagame, although I guess Frozen Touch, not really a thing anymore as it's wild and way too slow there. Another example here we have is the Dreadhound Handler, a 2-mana, 2/2 undead pirate. It has rush, and then you summon a Death Rattle, a 1/1 Dreadhound, which is also an undead beast with Reborn, and very similar to a neutral card back in the day, Hench Clan Hogsteed, although it had 1 less health, and instead of being an undead pirate, it was a beast, and it would just summon 1 Murloc. No Reborn, nothing on it, but hey, it's a neutral card compared to a class card. I guess that's all right, but very similar designs. And I guess similar type of thing with Frostbitten Freebooter, a 3-mana 2/2 undead pirate with Death Rattle. It freezes 3 random enemies. Any that were already frozen take 5 damage instead. You do need 1 Frost rune, but compare that to the old Popsicular. Really cool art on that card, by the way. I think that froze 2 enemies, if I remember correctly. Sorry, it's actually just minions, and this could do 3 enemies, so it could go face, and then also deal damage. And people have been brewing up some OTKs with this card. It's actually been popping up, not like a tremendously well-performing card, but yeah, Popsicular was terrible. You know, again, neutral card compared to a class card, but pretty crazy to think how much better overall this card is. Moving on to Demon Hunter, we have the reverse. I'm going to call this reverse power creep, where we have the all-terrain Voidhound, the 7-mana 5/8 demon. Whenever this attacks, give your hero +5 attack this turn. Shockingly, not on our worst cards list, not even close actually, but you compare that to Park Panther, the Drew card that I believe is in the core set right now. 4-mana 4/4 beast. After whenever this attacks, you gain +3 attack. That is rush, and it's like 4 mana. It's so much better than this. It's just weird that this doesn't have rush. You would think it would, but it doesn't. Catch of the Day is a new Hunter card that I guess Priest could use, and probably better than a Hunter these days. Catch of the Day, 1-mana Rush Beast. It's a 3/3 Battle Cry. You summon a 2/1 worm for your opponent. There used to be a neutral card back in the day. Didn't see a ton of play. The old Gravel Snout Knight. It was a 1-mana 2/3 that would just summon a random 1-drop, which could be worse than a 2/1. Could be better, and you didn't have rush, you didn't have a tribe on the card. Again, neutral, older card, but kind of similar flavor. And by the way, this bait guy, does anyone see what I see with this thing? He just kind of looks like, anyways, I don't want to mention, I don't want to get demonetized. I'm just a child at heart. Rising Waves is a new spell for Mage, which is 3 mana, and it deals 2 damage to all minions. If none die, deal 2 more. And a card that used to see play way back in the day, Volcanic Potion, another mage spell, fire spell, I guess it got updated later, that dealt 2 damage to all minions. Just pretty much straight up worse. The only situation I could think of where it's better is, yeah, it's a fire spell, so you get a spell school, or you like didn't want to actually damage more than that because your minions are on the board or something, right? Like, I guess he got something like that going for it, but overall, pretty much just a straight up improvement. And yeah, this card sees a little bit of play in Mage, and it gives Druid access to an AoE, but they don't really seem to use that much. Although I've seen it in Wild more than I've seen it in Standard. We also have Rayla, Sand Sculptor, the Paladin Tourist. After you cast a spell, you summon a random 2-cost minion, give it Divine Shield. We got the signature here, but we'll show this because I always get complaints. It's harder to read when we're doing these, so there you go. I just don't have it golden. I want the shiny. Regardless, you compare this to the old Vex Crow, a 4-mana 3/3 beast for Mage, did basically the exact same thing, except you couldn't play Paladin cards, it had worse stats, and the minions it summoned didn't have Divine Shield, but hey, that's the legendary tax, right? You could run 2 of them, way more broken than this, so there you go. Vex Crow did see a little bit of play, and I know Rayla's not doing great right now, but I think she's pretty good, and she'll only get better as we go along. Another pretty wild example of just a card that's so much better is Tsunami. 8-mana frost spell. You summon 3/6 water elementals that freeze, and they also attack random enemies. Compared to Deep Freeze, same mana cost, you just got 2 water elementals, you got to choose an enemy to freeze. So it would freeze something, you could selectively do that. They didn't attack, you got less water elementals, and this card did see play, in particular during the Demon Hunter meta. If you could manage to play this card, you could lock out the Demon Hunter from basically attacking for the rest of the game. No Minion Mage, Spell Mage was a thing then. That card was good, and this card probably will be better when Ziliax hopefully gets toned down, but it is insane how much better this card is than that one, and both have definitely been good enough for ladder play. Divine Brew might be the most extreme case of power creep we have this entire expansion. The 1-mana holy spell for Paladin. You give a character Divine Shield, so that include your own hero. If it already has 1, you give it +1 attack this turn, and not only that, it's a drink, so you get 3 uses out of this, and you compare that to Hand of Protection. OG classic. I think it's like a basic card. 1 mana, give a minion Divine Shield. That's it. You do get the holy tag, but that's it. 1 Divine Shield on only a minion, compared to this card that's way more flexible, has attack buff synergies, also can do your, protect your hero. Crazy. I'm not saying Hand of Protection was ever a good card. If you're ever gonna power creep on a card, that's the one to do it. But it is pretty crazy how much better this card is than one that is in the game right now that basically, kind of did a similar thing. Why not just buff the card, bring it to the core set? No, we're gonna sell us some packs. One of the better early game cards in all of Hearthstone right now, the Brain Masseuse, a 1-mana 2/4 undead pirate. Whenever this minion takes damage, also deal that much to your hero. And you compare that to the old Soulbound Ashtongue, the Mark OTK combo enabler, which had the exact same text, no tribe, and had 1 less attack. Again, a neutral option. I don't think you'd want to have this style of card accessible to every class of the game. It's ridiculously strong. One of my more cards I underrated way too much, like 5-star 1-drop, insanely good, but it's crazy how much just 1 extra attack can make all the difference. And yeah, 2 attack on turn 1 on a 4 health card, a lot better than that old Ashton. Plus it's an undead and a pirate, which matters a lot. And although Chilled Vol'jin, a 3-mana 3/3 hunter tourist, which has battle cries, choose 2 minions, swap their stats, it's not really that comparable to the old Vol'jin, but that just swapped health, right? It just took the health and that was it. This swaps double the stats. It can't buff itself, but for 2 mana less, you get not only the attack, the health, way more flexible, plus it's a card that lets you play hunter cards, which is a positive, believe it or not. Even though hunter's not doing great, their cards are pretty good in priest. And yeah, this card is just so much better than the old counterpart, which did see play way back in the day, but was never like super top tier. Also have Hot Coals, the fire spell for priest, one of the only fire spells. I think Dragonfire is the only other one. This deals 2 damage to all enemies. If your hero took damage this turn, deal 1 more. Poor Consecration just deals 2 damage to all enemies. It is a holy spell, but it doesn't get that additional upside that this card does. And don't forget, Consecration used to cost 4. They buffed that pretty recently, and yeah, hot coals make it a hot mess out of that Consecration. Does that make any sense? No, but I'm gonna go with it. Shaman gets the old Razzle Dazzler this expansion, the 7 mana 4/4 Naga. Battle Cry, you summon a random 5-cost minion, repeat for each spell school you've cast this game. Pretty comparable, and honestly to me, a lot better than Elemental Inspiration, the mage spell that you get a bunch of 4/5s depending on how many spell schools you played this game. On average, the Razzle Dazzler feels a little bit stronger than stats, and on top of that, you get the 4/4 right away, and you also get a 5-cost minion no matter what, whereas Elemental Inspiration, you haven't played a spell school, you get absolutely nothing. There are spell synergies, there's other stuff going on, but this card to me just feels a lot better, and also discountable, shutter blockable, all sorts of shenanigans, and also hasn't been good enough in the meta. But again, Ziliax, kind of a big part of that, but the old Razzle Dazzler has given the old Razzle Dazzle to Elemental Inspiration. Some way, somehow, Warlock has managed to power creep classic Flame Imp, the old 1 mana 3/2, which is still in standard, still sees play in a lot of decks with this card. In Party Fiend, the 1 mana 1/1 demon, Battle Cry, you summon 2 1/1 Fell Beasts, deal 3 damage to your hero. So instead of 3/2 in stats, you get 3 3s, you get more on the board, so you can like discount Giants or your Ziliax and all sorts of additional synergies that go with it. It's a little bit more fragile in some ways, I guess, to like a 1 damage AoE, but overall, just way better than Flame Imp, one of the best cards in Hearthstone history. They've managed to pull that off, and I gotta admit, I'm quite impressed. Mage got a very good 0, oh wait, I thought this was 0 mana. No, 1 mana spell, the Sea Breeze Chalice. It's a 1 mana frost spell that deals 2 damage, randomly split among all enemies, and you can do this 3 different times. So let's say you do it and actually spend the mana on it. You'll do 3 mana, deal 6, and you compare that to Cinderstorm, which only dealt 5, didn't have the abusability of making it 0, and then you get spell damage boosts on each occurrence. Just quite a bit better in a lot of ways. And believe it or not, Cinderstorm was actually a meta card in like Tempo Mage, Burn Mage decks. It saw play back in the day, but Sea Breeze Chalice absolutely kind of claps on that one. Tide Pool Pupil is one of the best cards of this expansion. 1 mana 2/1 Naga, Battle Cry. If you cast 3 spells while holding this, discover one of them. You compare that to Rewind, which I believe is in standard right now. You can argue this is quite a bit better than it. You get a 1 mana token, so it's 1 mana cheaper. You get a body, and you can kind of manipulate this, whereas Rewind, if you played a lot of spells, you got no idea what you're going to get throughout the game. Whereas this, you know exactly the 3 options you'll get. The downside being you need to be holding this and casting those spells compared to a Rewind, and I still think this card is just so unbelievably good in any deck that's playing a bunch of spells you want to copy. And yeah, he puts Rewind to shame, which you rarely want to hard run. We got the Adaptive Amalgam. I only have the signature of this one, which has all minion types. Death Rattle. Shuffle this into your deck. It keeps any enchantments, and you compare that to a class card, not a neutral, in Immortal Prelate, which had 1 more health but cost an extra mana, didn't have all the tribal stuff, so it's a lot harder to like, you know, magnetize to or give all these different buffs to. And it takes one of the more unique, flavorful class cards and just gives it to absolutely everybody. It's not like a powerhouse of a card, but it is a heck of a lot better than the Immortal Prelate. We have one of the worst cards of the set, Cryopractor, the 3 mana 3/3 Battle Cry, give it minion +3/+3 and freeze it. You can do the exact same thing with the old Shaman spell, Cryostasis. It costs a mana less, but you didn't get that beautiful epic body of a 3 mana 3/3 plus Battle Cry synergies and unbelievably broken power creep. How could they power creep on one of the worst cards ever and also make what looks to be also one of the worst cards ever? It's just a mechanic, buffing and freezing outside of like the old, you know, freeze the whole board and buff my elemental card, Snowfall Guardian, typically hasn't worked out so well. Everybody's favorite new elemental, the old Lamplighter, 3 mana 3/2 Battle Cry, deal 1 damage, and it's improved by each turn in a row. you played an elemental. It's kind of crazy that this card is straight up, for the most part, better than Scar, the legendary in standard right now. Your big elemental payoff. It does hit the entire board, right? It's got that on Lamplighter, but it's 4 mana more. It's a legendary, and this can easily be bounced by like cheap effects like a Shadow Step, a Saloon Brewmaster. I'm sorry, if I have a choice in my deck between can I play a Lamplighter or a Scar, I'm picking Lamplighter. Plus, I can play 2 of these and only 1 Scar. So yeah, pretty sad what's happened. Although I wonder if this card's gonna look like this this time next week. Carry On Grub, 4 mana, 5/4 Beast Battlecry. You get a 1-cost suitcase. Pack the top 2 cards of your deck into it. And well, you can compare it to like Gnomish Adventure if you want to go old school. Be like, oh my god, 4 mana, 2/4 draw card. And that card did see meta play. Believe it or not, that was good enough. That's how hard card draw was. But I thought I would go with the more recent card, like very recent, like I think last expansion recent, the Workshop Janitor, a 5 mana 5/5. So again, basically the same cost of 5 mana. However, you need to be controlling a location to draw 2 cards. So you got to invest whatever mana into playing that location, have it be up. You also have to draw that location. This card, you can just play, get 2 cards, plus it has the upside of being the top 2 cards of your deck. You can manipulate that to your advantage. Should be quite nice. Also, the suitcase itself can be copied, and Sonya and Pip, and there's just upside on this card. It's not meta, it's not super great, but it is a heck of a lot better than that Workshop Janitor. And last but certainly not least, we have Baron the Manager, the 7 mana 6/6 pirate, where you get to battle cry, choose a fantastic treasure. You shuffle the other 3 into your deck. The original Mary the Fox cost a mana more, only gave you 1 treasure after you killed the token you had to generate, and it was random. So you could get, you know, not 1. Pretty much all the other ones suck in comparison, right? This one, you just pick it. It's got a pirate tag on top of it. They never updated the old Marin. And you can even compare it to Heist Baron Togwoggle, which was an incredibly good card back in the day, a rogue legendary. Sure, it was a mana cheaper, but you had to control a lackey. And again, you only got the 1 treasure. You didn't shuffle anymore, but you did get to pick. And it was like, yeah, it was pretty much always 1. Sometimes you went crown, but it was pretty much always 1. So there you go. My examples of crazy power creep from Perils in Paradise. Let me know in the comments down below what I missed, what I'm wrong on, and just, did you enjoy the video? Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.